Are the Lakers in trouble? Charles, what's the answer?
I was actually looking at the standings last night because I watched them get mauled last night, and I'm like, man, they're only like 2 to 3 games from eighth place. So are they in trouble? Yes, they're in trouble. But they do have a really huge advantage. With no fans in the building, even if they start the first round of the playoffs on the road, it won't be like the old home court advantage. They could drop to 6, 7, maybe even 8th in the next in 2 weeks. But because there's no home court advantage, it really doesn't matter as long as AD and Anthony are healthy when the playoffs start. They're still going to be a tough out. But to answer your question, they are in trouble. They're not going to stay. I think they're third or fourth right now. They're going to be they're probably not going to win a game in the next couple of weeks. I haven't seen the schedule, but without AD and LeBron, it's going to be hard for them to win any games.
Yeah, to your point, they are 2 losses in front of being the 7th seed right now, and it's going to be a while before they come back. But then let me change the question. If LeBron and Anthony Davis are healthy, and that's a huge if, but if they are healthy when the playoffs begin, will they be your pick to win the championship?
They will not be.
No.
Listen, I am sold on the Utah Jazz and the Clippers, but this is going to be a totally different fight for them this year because they're going to have a tough round no matter who they play in the West. If you play Luka Doncic in the first round, that's a heck of a series. Listen, if you play the Portland Trail Blazers, that's a heck of a series. But they won't be my pick. I'm probably going to stick with the Jazz, to be honest with you, because they've been the most consistent team throughout the season. But I tell you what, the East, between Brooklyn, Philly, and the Bucks, those 3 teams, they're going to be interesting to watch who's going to be the best team in the East.
Greeny presented by Progressive Insurance. Charles Barkley with me on the Goodyear Hotline. Let's talk about Brooklyn because they have been doing what they've been doing and basically have barely at all had their big 3 on the floor together. And I suppose there is no guarantee that they will. But I'll ask you a similar question to what I said in the West. If we get to the playoffs and Kyrie, KD, and Harden are all healthy and they're all playing, what will be your expectation for them?
They should win the championship. If they're all healthy, Brooklyn's going to be the favorite. I will tell you this, though. I hear all these guys talking about MVP. At one point, it was Joel Embiid. At one point, it was LeBron. I think Chris Paul should be in the conversation. But the MVP in the NBA right now is James Harden. What he's doing right now without KD and without Kyrie, we can't ignore that. James Harden is the MVP of the NBA, plain and simple. Like I say, Embiid had it for a minute. LeBron's been right there. I talk about Chris Paul, what he's doing in Phoenix, but the MVP in the NBA right now is James Harden.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think when you look not only at doing it without those guys, but the way he has adapted what he does, he is the most unique, among the most unique players in the NBA, and he's been doing it that way in Houston for such a long time. And he comes to Brooklyn, and it feels like he has been willing to be exactly what they need him to be. And Charles, you know as well as anyone, superstars aren't always willing to do that, and Harden has been willing to do it. I've been impressed.
Well, let me say this. First of all, what James has done, he's not the same guy who played like he did in Houston. He don't play like that anymore, having a bunch of guys just standing around and watch him go one-on-one. To me, he's played like a real point guard. And the game, he obviously hasn't had KD, but when Kyrie is there, he makes Kyrie better. But man, when he's not there, even last night against Portland, I was watching that game last night. I'm like, I didn't think they could win that game last night. And I know you guys got him on TV tonight against the Jazz. If he go into Utah and win tonight, that to me, if he don't get MVP after that, people are just being biased. Listen, he did not handle the situation well coming out of Houston. He quit on those Rockets. But you know what? Hey, he made a mistake. He apologized for it. But what he's doing in Brooklyn right now cannot be overlooked, and we should appreciate it because, listen, this guy, and I know I'm going to probably get criticized for saying this, This guy might be the best basketball player in the world. I mean, he might be the best player in the world. I've always thought he was the best offensive player. He wasn't as great as Michael and Kobe, but I said a few years ago, and people laughed at me, he's the best offensive player I've ever seen.
Mm.
But right now, no disrespect to LeBron or Giannis or anybody, James Harden might be the best basketball player in the world, period.
Wow, I was not expecting you to say that, and so I'm sitting here sort of trying to figure out how to respond to it. The criticism I would think would be that while I think he has been a little more of a willing defender this year and in recent years, that's what people would say, that the best players in the league do it that well on both sides of the floor. Charles, what would you say to someone who would say that to you?
Well, I think, it's always, listen, James has made some. That style in Houston was never going to win, but he has adapted and changed. I think he is a little bit better defensively.
Mm-hmm.
But for them to win games without KD and without Kyrie, you got to give that man some credit. And like I say, he is the most awesome offensive player I've ever seen. Listen, Michael and Kobe were better players from the guard standpoint, but as far as offensively, they couldn't shoot threes like him. They were not as great as dribbling the basketball, going to the basket, getting fouled. I mean, this guy, every time he goes to the basket, he's going to hit somebody and get 2 free throws. But we got to give that guy credit, man. He is an offensive machine, plain and simple. And some of the nights when Kyrie is going off, it's because of James, plain and simple.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.